If we leave anything in darkness, how on earth can we expect it to be anything other than a beast? The monster is grief. The monster is loss, betrayal, having to do something unspeakable because it is the only way for survival. And sometimes we have to tell our monsters that they're no longer our monsters anymore. Hey everybody, welcome in. You are here with Jane and Mark over at Blue Box 29. Today is March 10th. We are in the week of the test for the Tested Hero, month of trials and destiny, and today we reach the monster. So today is all about the monster, and the theme is fear embodied. So what does our fear look like if it was to be embodied within a monster? And we see that in 4 different stories today. So we are going to look at it through Greek, Babylonian, Chinese, and Arabian folklore today. So we will see you after we look at these 4 stories for the monster.
Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that.
Story 1, Theseus and the Minotaur. On the island of Crete stood a structure unlike any other in the ancient world. It was called the labyrinth, a twisted maze of stone corridors so complex that no one who entered could find their way out. At the heart of that maze lived a creature feared across the Greek world, the Minotaur. Half man, half bull, the creature possessed the strength of a beast and the hunger of something cursed. Its hooves echoed through the labyrinth's endless halls, and its breath carried the heat of a creature born from divine anger. The story of the Minotaur began long before the maze was built. King Minos ruled Crete, a powerful kingdom blessed by the gods. When Minos prayed to Poseidon to prove his right to the throne, the sea god answered by sending a magnificent white bull rising from the ocean waves. Minos was meant to sacrifice the bull in gratitude, but the animal was too beautiful. Instead of honoring Poseidon's command, Minos kept the bull and sacrificed a lesser one in its place. The gods do not forget broken promises. As punishment, Poseidon placed a strange and terrible desire into the heart of Minos' wife, Queen Pasiphae. She became obsessed with the divine bull, and through a trick of craftsmanship devised by an inventor, Daedalus, she united with it. From that unnatural union, the Minotaur was born. The child possessed the body of a powerful man, but the head of a raging bull. Ashamed and horrified, Minos ordered Daedalus to construct the labyrinth to imprison the creature forever. But the Minotaur could not be ignored. Its hunger was endless. To feed it, King Minos demanded tribute from the city of Athens after defeating them in war. Every 9 years, Athens was forced to send 7 young men and 7 young women into the labyrinth. None ever returned, until the day a prince named Theseus stepped forward. Theseus was the son of King Aegeus of Athens, a young hero known for courage and strength. But when he heard of the tribute sent to Crete, he felt a deeper calling. "I will go," Theseus declared, "and I will kill the Minotaur." The Athenians were both hopeful and afraid. Many heroes had entered the labyrinth. None had survived. When Theseus arrived in Crete, someone unexpected noticed him. Princess Ariadne, the daughter of King Minos. She watched the young hero and saw not just bravery, but determination. Something in her heart told her this man might succeed where others had failed. Secretly, she approached him. The labyrinth cannot be escaped once entered, she warned. Theseus nodded. Then I must find a way. Ariadne handed him a small ball of thread. Take this, she said. Tie it to the entrance and unwind it as you walk. When the monster is slain, follow the thread back. Theseus accepted the gift. The next morning, the gates of the labyrinth opened. Theseus entered alone. Inside, the maze twisted endlessly. Stone corridor turned sharply, shadows stretched across the floor. Strange echoes traveled through the darkness. Theseus unwound the thread as he walked. Far within the labyrinth, a sound finally reached him. Heavy breathing. The Minotaur emerged from the shadows. The creature was enormous. Its bull head lowered as it charged, hooves striking sparks against the stone. Theseus leapt aside. The Minotaur struck again. Theseus dodged and fought with every ounce of strength he possessed. The battle echoed through the labyrinth like thunder. Finally, as the creature lunged once more, Theseus seized its horns. With desperate force, he drove the beast to the ground. The struggle ended in silence. The Minotaur lay still. Breathing heavily, Theseus stood over the fallen creature. Then he looked down the long corridor behind him. He followed the thread, step by step, turn by turn, until at last the light of the entrance appeared. Theseus emerged from the labyrinth victorious. And the terror that had haunted Athens for generations ended that day. Yet the labyrinth itself remained, a reminder that the greatest monsters are often born from broken promises, hidden shame, and the darkness we tried to bury. Story 2. Marduk and Tiamat. Before mountains rose from the earth and before the sky stretched over the world, there was only water. Two ancient forces existed in the beginning. Apsu, the fresh underground waters, calm and life-giving, and Tiamat, the vast salt sea, endless and powerful. Together they formed the first cosmos. From the mingling of their waters, the earliest gods were born. These younger gods moved from the primordial ocean like restless currents. They laughed, built dwellings of divine light, and fulfilled the silent waters with energy. But their movement disturbed Apsu. The ancient father of the deep preferred stillness. These younger gods bring only noise, Apsu complained. Their chaos destroys the peace of the first waters. Tiamat listened quietly. Though she was ancient and powerful, she did not share Apsu's anger. They are our children, she replied. Let them live and grow. But Apsu's frustration hardened into resolve. The disturbance of the younger god became unbearable to him, and he made a terrible decision. He would destroy them. If the young gods vanished, the universe would return to its original silence. When the younger gods learned of Apsu's plan, fear spread through them like a dark tide. They were powerful, but Apsu was older than all of them. Yet among them was a god of great wisdom named Ea. Ea understood that waiting would mean destruction. Using powerful magic, Ea approached Apsu while the ancient god slept. With a spell of deep enchantment, Ea subdued the old god and ended his life before the plan could unfold. The death of Apsu changed everything. For Tiamat, the loss of her ancient companion shattered the balance of the universe. Grief turned to fury. The peaceful mother of the seas transformed into something terrible. Tiamat rose from the waters like a storm without end, her body stretching across the sky and sea, her jaws wide enough to swallow mountains. From her rage, she created an army. Monstrous serpents with venom dripping from their fangs, dragons with scales harder than stone, beasts with horns, claws, and burning eyes. These creatures gathered around her like thunderclouds. At the head of the army, she placed a champion. His name was Kingu. To Kingu, she gave the Tablet of Destinies, a sacred object that granted authority over the order of the universe itself. Whoever possessed the tablet could command fate. The younger gods trembled when they saw the growing storm of chaos. None dared challenge Tiamat. Her power was too vast. But among the younger generation was a warrior unlike the others. His name was Marduk. Marduk was radiant and fierce, a god of storms and strength. Flames flickered in his eyes, and the winds answered his command. He spoke before the gathered gods. If I defeat Tiamat and save the heavens, he declared, you must grant me authority among you. The frightened gods agreed immediately. They needed a champion. Marduk prepared for battle. He armed himself with bow and arrow, lightning, and a net woven from divine winds. 4 mighty winds circled him like guardians of the sky. Then he rode toward the battlefield where the sea goddess waited. The clash shook the cosmos. Tiamat roared as Marduk approached. "You dare challenge the mother of the deep?" she thundered. Marduk stood firm. When Tiamat opened her vast jaws to swallow him whole, Marduk released the 4 winds into her mouth. The winds forced her jaws open wider and wider until she could not close them again. Then Marduk fired a single arrow. The arrow struck deep within Tiamat's heart. The great sea goddess collapsed. Her army scattered, their power broken. But Marduk's task was not yet finished. Standing over the fallen body of Tiamat, he looked upon the endless waters and chaos that had once filled the universe. From her body, he created order. He split Tiamat in 2. From one half, he formed the heavens above. From the other half, he shaped the earth below. He set the stars in their courses and gave the moon its path across the night. Rivers flowed where once there had only been ocean. From chaos, the world was born. And so the ancient monster who threatened creation also became the foundation of the cosmos itself. For sometimes, the greatest fears must be faced before the world can take its true shape. Story 3, The Dragon King of the Eastern Sea. In the ancient lands of China, where mist rolled across mountains and rivers carved deep valleys through the earth, dragons ruled the waters of the world. These dragons were known as Long. Unlike the fire-breathing beasts feared in many Western tales, Chinese dragons were powerful spirits of nature. They governed rain, storms, rivers, and oceans. Farmers prayed to them for rain, and emperors claimed that their strength as a symbol of divine authority. Among these mighty creatures were the dragon kings, rulers of the 4 great seas that surrounded the world. One of the most powerful was Ao Guang, the dragon king of the Eastern Sea. Ao Guang lived deep beneath the waves in a palace of coral and jade. The walls shimmered with pearls and glowing shells, and the currents carried messages from every river that flowed into the sea. From this throne beneath the ocean, Ao Guang controlled the rains that nourished the land. When he was pleased, gentle rains fell across the fields. But when he grew angry, storms rose from the sea like roaring beasts. For generations, the people among the coast honored the Dragon King. They built temples near the water and offered incense and prayers for balanced weather. But one year, something changed. The rains did not come. Spring passed into summer, and the rivers shrank into narrow streams. Crops withered beneath the sun, and the soil cracked like dry clay bowls. The people gathered before the temple of the Dragon King and prayed. But still, the skies remained empty. Among the villagers lived a young man named Li Wei. He was not a priest or a nobleman. He was simply a fisherman who knew the rhythm of the sea better than most. As the drought worsened, Li Wei began to suspect something was wrong beneath the waters. The Dragon King would not ignore us without reason, he told the others. But what can a fisherman do? They asked. Li Wang looked toward the horizon. I will ask him myself. The villagers stared in disbelief. No human had ever dared enter the palace of a Dragon King. Yet Li Wei was determined. At dawn, he rowed his small boat far beyond the fishing waters and into the deeper sea. The waves grew larger and the sky darkened as clouds gathered above him. At last, a massive whirlpool opened in the ocean before him. Without hesitation, Li Wei guided his boat into the swirling water. The world spun around him. When the water finally stilled, he found himself standing on the floor of the Dragon King's palace. The halls shimmered with light filtered through the sea above. Guards shaped like great serpents blocked his path. A human dares enter the palace of Ao Guang, one hissed. I have come for my people, Li Wei said bravely. The guards carried word to their king. Moments later, the Dragon King himself appeared. Ao Guang's body coiled through the palace like a living river. His long form shimmered with golden scales, and his whiskers moved gently into the water currents. Why have you come, mortal? The dragon's deep voice echoed through the halls. Li Wei bowed respectfully. My village suffers from drought, he said. The rivers are dying and our crops are failing. We came to pray for rain, but none has come. Ao Guang lowered his enormous head. You believe I have forgotten you, he said. Yes, Li Wei admitted. For a long moment, the dragon said nothing. Then he turned toward the palace gates. "Follow me." They traveled deeper into the palace until they reached a massive chamber where enormous iron chains hung from the ceiling. At the center of the chamber stood another dragon. The dragon was smaller than Ao Guang, but bound tightly by the chains. "This," said the Dragon King, "is the spirit of rain." Li Wei stared in shock. Why is he in prison? Ao Guang's eyes narrowed. He grew reckless. His storms flooded villages and destroyed entire harvests. I bound him here until he learned restraint. Li Wei looked at the chained dragon. But without him, Li Wei said slowly, the world above is dying. The Dragon King remained silent. Finally, he sighed. "You humans fear storms," he said. "Yet without storms, there is no rain." Ao Guang lifted one great claw. The chains shattered. The spirit of rain stretched his wings and roared with joy. Moments later, thunder rolled across the sea. Li Wei returned to the surface just as dark clouds filled the sky. Rain began to fall, first gently, then steadily. The river swelled and the fields drank deeply. And from that day forward, the villagers remembered something important about the dragons of the sea. They were not monsters to destroy. They were powers to understand. For sometimes what we fear most is also what sustains the world. Story 4, Sinbad and the Roc. In the ancient port city of Baghdad, merchants told countless stories of distant lands and dangerous seas. Among them were the adventures of the sailor Sinbad, whose voyages carried him farther across the oceans than most men dared travel. Sinbad had already survived storms, shipwrecks, and strange islands when he began what would become one of his most famous journeys. His ship sailed far into the Indian Ocean, where the waters turned deep and blue beyond the sight of familiar shores. For many days the voyage was calm, the wind steadied and the crew hopeful for profitable trade. Then one morning the sailors spotted land. An island rose gently from the sea, covered in white stone and smooth sand. No trees grew there, and no animals were visible. "It looks safe enough," the captain said. The crew lowered their boats and went ashore. As they explored the island, Sinbad noticed something unusual in the center of the rocky ground. There lay a massive white dome. At first, the sailors thought it was a strange building made of polished stone. But when they walked closer, they realized it had no doors and no windows. Its surface was perfectly smooth. "What could this be?" one sailor asked. Sinbad studied it carefully. Then a terrible thought came to him. "This is not a building," he whispered. "It is an egg." The sailors laughed nervously. No bird could lay an egg this large. But Sinbad had heard stories. He remembered tales told by older sailors about a legendary bird called the Roc. The Roc was said to be the creature so enormous that its wings could block out the sun, and its talons could carry elephants into the sky. And now they were standing beside its egg. "Quickly," Sinbad urged. "We must leave before the parent returns." But curiosity is powerful. Some of the sailors refused to listen. "If it is an egg," one man said, "then it must contain food." They began striking the shell with stones until it cracked open. Inside was a massive chick, not yet fully formed. The sailors lit a fire and began cooking the meat. Sinbad felt dread rising in his chest. "This is a terrible mistake," he warned, but it was too late. As the sun began to sink toward the horizon, the shadow slowly spread across the island. The sailors looked up. High above them, something enormous moved across the sky. Two vast wings stretched from horizon to horizon. The Roc had returned. The great bird descended with a roar of wind that shook the ground. Its golden eyes blazed with fury as it saw the broken shell of its egg. The sailors panicked and ran toward the boats, but the Roc was faster. With a sweep of its wings, it lifted enormous stones from the cliffs nearby. The bird soared into the sky and released the stones onto the fleeing sailors. The rocks crashed down like falling mountains. Boats shattered. Men were swept into the sea. Sinbad alone managed to escape into deeper waters, clinging desperately to a floating piece of wood. The next morning he awoke, drifting on the waves, the island long gone behind him. Days later he would eventually return home, carrying the memory of the terrible bird. From that day forward, Sinbad told every sailor who would listen, "There are forces in the world far greater than our curiosity or hunger. Wisdom is knowing when to leave something untouched." And so the legend of the Roc traveled across deserts and seas, reminding travelers that not every mystery exists for humans to conquer. Some belong to the wild power of the world itself. Okay. Hey, everybody, welcome back in. Hope you enjoyed those 4 stories. The lesson for those 4 stories today is that bravery is movement. Bravery is movement. Our daily thread is that today we meet the monster, the form fear takes when it stands before us. Theseus entered the labyrinth to face the Minotaur, proving that courage begins with stepping into the maze rather than avoiding it. Marduk confronted the chaos of Tiamat, and from the terrifying battle shaped the very structure of the world. The Dragon King revealed that what appears monstrous may actually be a misunderstood power necessary for balance. And the Roc reminded travelers that some dangers exist, not to be conquered, but to teach humility before the vast forces of nature. Where in your life are you standing before something that feels like a monster, waiting to see whether you will turn away or move forward? Bravery is not the absence of fear. It is a decision to take the next step while fear walks beside you. So our first story is all about Theseus and the Minotaur. So we've seen the labyrinth throughout a lot of historical things just by the complexity of the maze, of how people were put in the center and there wasn't a way out. But Theseus found a way to outsmart it with the help of the princess, who is like, okay, well, if you can willingly go in and you can find your way to the center, all you have to do is retrace your steps.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of reminded me of the show we watched where they were going into the French, like in the French castle and in the walls and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and how they marked it with chalk. So they marked it on the turns, and you see that in stories too. But this one is that bravery does not mean the absence of fear, it means entering the labyrinth despite it. So he's not only facing a monster, but he's facing this mechanism, this environment that was created to best him and confuse him. And so this story, I don't know, the Minotaur itself, though, as the monster, it's angry, right? So it was just something, again, that's thrown away by these deities that we see sometimes. And the Greek ones are heavy, with that. It was used as a lesson, the bull was used as a lesson with the queen, and then there was a baby out of it. And it was so, I mean, crazy,
Yeah.
half man, half beast, that they just threw it
Right.
in there. But of course it's gonna get hungry.
Yeah.
So, but 7 men and 7 women, what do you think the significance is of that? Why would a monster require both, do you think?
It's a good question.
I mean, like, why not just all men? Or why not just all women?
Maybe the game, maybe he does other things.
Yeah, that's true. So it's more than just a hunger for food and
Could be.
stuff.
Could be.
Little bit of a game, little bit of a challenge, but I would just that this happened because of a king's broken promise. So it was too
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, but all of the steps in between. I mean, the monster came way after,
Yeah.
right? So there was the conception and then the birth, and then it grew up in there because he's like a full enormous man in there. So how long was he under there, right? But it doesn't really say what happened to the queen. I'm guessing she probably died in
Right.
childbirth. Would assume if
Possibly.
it was the head of a bull.
Yeah. I
Because you have
think
to think
that's.
Greek times, did they do C-sections, do you think? Who knows?
Think it might be too late by then.
I think that a queen, I don't know, I think you would wanna almost die or understand that, being used as a bargaining or being used as a lesson by the gods to
Right.
do something, like your free will was stripped away from you.
Yeah, they tricked her. They stole something from
Well,
her.
they just enchanted her.
Right.
So I guess you're right, tricked her, took away her vision, her
Yeah.
ability to do that. But that is exactly, I mean, if we think about that, that's terrifying. Imagine that whatever it was that created us, even if it's the Big Bang, that force, that energy, imagine if it could just take away our free will.
Right.
If it could just go, no, this is what I want to happen. Scary to think about because look at what comes from it, monsters. And this is, I mean, we see the Minotaur so much. It's one of the most famous creatures in any folklore mythology.
Yeah.
How many people know how it's came to be? How many people know that it came from the conception of a white bull given by Poseidon and the queen?
Not many.
Yeah.
I would think. I mean, yeah, there's definitely gonna be some people that
I mean, no, well,
probably our audience will know.
when I taught mythology and folklore, though, the kids that knew folklore knew the story.
Right, and
Mythology,
that's
they
what I'm
knew it.
saying, our audience
But
will.
the amount of times that was the story kids wanted to know about. And I just
Really?
said, I can't, it's not something I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
And it was just something of and a lesson, but it was a monster born of animal and human, and that's
Right?
it. We aren't gonna get into it though. And it kind of sucks, but I get it. Wouldn't want to talk about this at middle school age. I wouldn't want to talk about it probably till like college,
Yeah.
upper advanced high school. But to talk about those dynamics of especially the Greek mythology, the manipulation, and how many people are turned into monsters
Right.
because the deities did what they wanted. People that had overwhelming power took control and then just threw everything away like trash.
Yeah, that's
And
because that's what it was to them. They're just like, "You who cares?"
that's why this is a sad story
Mhm.
because if we leave anything in darkness, how on earth can we expect it to be anything other than a beast?
Oh.
And it just makes me sick 'cause I thought about something about an hour ago,
Mhm.
and it's just one of those things where, the things that bother us in the world. And I told you how a lot of political stuff comes on my Facebook, and I've been trying to clear it. I keep putting not interested, doesn't fit
Yep.
my things, whatever. But I saw one today and it was about kids, and it hit me about an hour ago. I thought of it again, and that just sick feeling, that this kind of stuff happens. No, it's not a mythical or a mystical bull and a queen figuring out how to mate with it.
Right.
But there are beings, children left in the dark that they know nothing but that. The labyrinth was all that this monster knew. And then it was just something to be slain. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I feel conflicted. You almost root for it.
Yeah.
But then because of what we created, we as a human society, by
Mhm.
doing that to it. I don't think that there's
It's almost the more
humane thing. Yeah,
right.
I think we're thinking the same thing. But story 2, okay, so that one, unfortunately, was the Minotaur story. If you look at it just from the monster, it's a terrible life. It's a terrible story.
Yeah.
The narrative, the storytelling itself, beautiful, but the life.
Well, yes. It's
And it's
sad.
crazy, but if you think about how we're all connected and we all have lived every life, that's been us in some reality. And don't want to go back. That's already been lived. But story 2, it's not just destroying the monster, it's not just killing the monster. It's using it and realizing that this world can't go anywhere without this. This has its purpose. It
Mhm.
just needed to be brought down so that it didn't destroy things.
Right.
It kind of made me feel like that quote of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Right.
How sometimes we are so passionate that we lose ourselves along the way. And we go, I forgot why I was even doing this. That's what this kind of made me feel like. But the other aspect of this as a partner, as the female, who these are ancient beings. So let's take back that little bit of that context of she probably wasn't going to stand up and shut down her partner, her eternal partner. He wanted the silence. He wanted more order, more whatever. And so he was like, okay, I'm going to do this. She didn't stop him. She's his partner. But when the children destroyed him, took him out, then she raged, right? That was this story, wasn't it? Yeah, that is this story.
Yeah.
But she raged and her fury
Mm.
became the things that was going to destroy everything, and how she would have never been capable of that with her partner there.
Yep.
That was not something that could be mimicked or whatever. Rage, yes, but grief pushed with your rage. And we're talking eternal, how in our bodies, our vessels right now, we have a long life together and it's
Mhm.
beautiful. But the point is that we want to connect so much that our souls can go on together.
Right.
They had this. They knew better than any of us what eternity was. And so, yeah, I think that that grief is everlasting. They knew that she had to die as well. But from her, the world will grow. And that's something that we kind of took away from this, is that the monster serves a purpose. The monster is not just something that is this disgusting thing that hides in the dark, that's trapped in a maze that we can't even speak about. It's the monster is grief. The monster is loss, betrayal, having to do something unspeakable because it is the only way for survival. That's how I feel about this one. And the important note is that fear often appears as chaos before transformation. Confronting it is what allows a new world to emerge. So sometimes the very things that are chaos. And no, not all monsters need to be slain.
No.
One that I think of that a lot of people will probably know is the Moana story. And I'm talking about the Moana Disney, so we can have the visual of the island was the monster.
Right.
And it just needed to be seen by Moana. And so we see that not all monsters are meant to be slain. This one, unfortunately, that was the only way that the world would survive.
Yeah.
And it can't just be death. Ultimately, as one of the children, if she kills this, we're all gone. And then it was nothing but death. There was no life that came from them. It was just gone. And it needed a chance to grow. And they did what needed to be done. Again, we're talking about higher beings,
Right.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Story 3, The Dragon King of the Eastern Sea. What did you think about this? The Dragon King. The one.
While while you were reading it, I got the visualization of this like big like dragon head, like
Yeah.
a long like snake like body, because the way it described how he like wound through the castle, that's all I could picture is like a long snake, but then with the
That's
dragon head.
exactly what they are. So it is obviously we're talking about China, but the Chinese dragons are very different from Western dragons.
Right.
Really, I want to kind of ask you something about the visualization you had.
Okay.
What color was the dragon?
On like a red or orangish color, I think.
So the Chinese dragon, the Eastern dragon, is a dragon that I've seen like on our journeys, that it was like crawling within your spine. That's what I've seen, is that slithery.
My spine?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, it's the Eastern dragon, not the Western. It's like I can see a red and yellow, red, orange
Yeah, maybe it
dragon
was yellow.
with a big head, but it's just that classic, Chinese dragon
Yeah.
look. But this one, I don't know, in my head, I kind of pictured it like both of those dragons were just kind of chilling and waiting. But when he arrived, they put on this show.
Yeah.
It felt like it was a show. 100%.
Yeah, but they planned it. Like, it's almost like they knew and they were just going to do, what they did.
Yeah. And so eventually someone will come, and if they don't, they'll die.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're at. We can hear them praying. But we also heard the nights where they were cursing at us for bringing storms and turned their back towards us and seemed to forget that even these deities, even these spirits have good and bad, because it is good and bad in all of us, because those two words don't mean what we think they mean.
No.
All that we have is balance. And that's what the Eastern dragons are so big on. So big on. And I love how they showcase that in the Avatar: The Last Airbender cartoon series. They really showcase that with dragons.
Yeah.
It's how they are balanced. And we see that with the fire element. We all assume and think fire, warmth, and destruction, the main things we see. It also brings light.
Mm-hmm.
It's breathing. It's a breathing, moving thing. And dragons are like the fire element, 100%. They are both dangerous and very necessary. Like, they're foundational. And that's why I truly believe in them. People might be like, okay, chill, just about the dragons. I have zero doubt in my mind. In my reality, I can live in this. You can show me whatever statistics you want. 100% there were dragons on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
I have zero doubt in my mind. Uh, I think that there are some animals that I see where they look like dragons. I don't know how real they are. Online, I've looked up those bats and stuff where I've showed you. Doesn't this kind of look like one?
Yeah.
It could be me just trying to push it, but there are some that I'm like, I
Right.
need to see if this is real
Yeah.
because if it is, that's really
I
cool.
mean, there's so much stuff that is out there or been out there that we have no clue. Like today, I saw a picture of this guy standing on top of what looked identical to a tortoise head.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the body would have been like the rocks and stuff that were behind him, which it would have made sense too. But like it just got petrified somehow. And then, like on the eastern side of the United States, there was this, and there still is this giant stone that is exactly like a frog, and they call it Frog Rock.
Oh, that's
So a
right. I think
long
I've seen
time
that.
ago, yeah, and I think it was on the Wi-Fi house.
Mhm.
Was it?
That
That's where
must
we
have
first saw
that
it.
might have been when I've seen it, yeah.
So like they cleared out this big space, and it was this big deal, and people go, well, nobody carved it though. It was just a rock identical to a frog. There's a reason. So there's no doubt in my mind too that there was dragons.
And I think most of them are in the ocean. You see like just weird things. We talked about the sleeping lady in Alaska the other day, that mountain or whatever,
Yeah.
where it shows that. And then you see when you look on Google Map, there's certain places where people are like, is that the Leviathan's head? Is that a dragon's head? In certain places. And I truly believe that dragons existed. You see it in all of these things. One of my major thought process behind that is the zodiac signs, Chinese zodiac signs. Why are all of them real except one?
Right.
Why are all of them animals we have seen except one?
Mm-hmm.
Dragons aren't the only animal in Chinese folklore. There are a number of other animals that are highly esteemed animals that could have made that list.
Right.
So that's an example too. But I loved how, regardless of all that, so do you want it? So you want the rain. Can you handle the storms? And just how easy it was to release it again, how easy it was to confine it. Because I think it was a double whammy for this tested hero of he took the chance to go out. He was well aware no one had ever made it out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those classic things I can picture. No one's ever made it safe. You can't go. You can't go. We're going to die either way.
Yeah. So
So he
guy
took the
trying or
courage.
guy just being,
He got to see the Dragon King,
yeah.
the highly esteemed one, because he took that plunge. And it wasn't a big showcase of it. It wasn't this big of whatever. It was, you came, we'll accept you. You get to see it, except that short thing that we had together,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll let you leave. Because I think in some of these stories, I kind of agree with the fact that it must be terrifying and difficult for us as humans to stand in divine presence.
I bet.
Fully divine. I could imagine that this was because of your courage, you will be granted access, but it's limited and be on your way. It's not a dilly-dally thing. You came here to secure the life of your people. You've done so. Goodbye. And I just really liked how that was.
Yeah.
And of course, we're looking at some condensed versions, some have longer, but from this, I really enjoyed that. It was almost like, it felt like a dad having the child and saying, my child has good and bad. How bad do you want him? And then if you're willing to take him, that's it. That's the one. It's my partner. I need him. Good, bad, like we can make it through, but that's what I need to survive. That's what I need.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, whatever. But if so, okay, the chain's cut, no longer tied to me.
Yep.
You
Now.
are his future now. You are his person now. That's also what it felt like.
Yeah.
Of, I'm protecting me and mine. And we've heard what you've said, and you need to appreciate that without this,
Yeah.
you're going to have to find another way. But he said, look, we're sorry. They didn't even realize what they needed to apologize for. They were confused. We've been praying. That's not That's not the problem. The problem is when it was inconvenient for you, when it wasn't pretty, when it wasn't peaceful. Where were you for us? That's what this story felt like to me. The important note is that what appears monstrous may actually be a misunderstood force necessary for balance in life. And just how bad do we need it?
Right.
Some things we will take the good with the bad because the second that one's gone, so is the other.
Yeah.
Okay, story 4, Sinbad and the Roc. This is the giant bird that we watched in that
Yeah.
cartoon. I love how the more we see Sinbad, I mean, this is the second time we've seen Sinbad, but
Yep.
I've read some up on him. Very wise, knows when to inquire, knows when to step away. A lot of Sinbad's like escapades, it feels like he really is good at analyzing the situation. This is smooth. So there are automatically things that can't be. It's an egg. We got to get out of here. First thing, it can't be, but if it is, there must be food in there. Why aren't you thinking of the thing that did lay this?
Yeah.
That is coming back. What are you going to do? But not only that, we do that as humans. We just see something and we take it
Right. We're just,
for our own survival's sake or our own curiosity.
and sometimes just because look, pretty rock, I want it.
And then it's like, oh, it's a tragedy. They all died. They killed that being's baby. I mean, if you look at it, they killed an animal's baby and that animal killed them.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, but it kind of also made me think of the other day. I don't remember what day it was, but when we were saying sometimes we just need to mind our own business.
Yeah.
Everything on this planet isn't for us, maybe.
Right.
Maybe there are some mysteries that we aren't meant to conquer. And I don't know, this one is just kind of that. I think it's just as straightforward as that. Maybe we don't just assume that we have the right for everything. Maybe we learn that our curiosity, being curious, doesn't mean that we have the right to go investigate that curiosity.
Exactly.
And also how eager we are or how quick we are to do something when it has no power to defend itself. And the person that we know is going to be upset with us disturbing this comes. And they take advantage of what they found. I love that we got to see Sinbad because what that made me think of was just criminals breaking into homes.
Yeah.
When the male or the stronger person is gone, when the protector is gone and they wait for that opportunity and they take advantage of what they found. That's what this story made me think of. And I love that Sinbad was like, no.
Right.
And he got away and it was terrible. It was terrible loss of life on both sides. But you better believe that when you walk up to something, every person that he passed, if you walk up to something like that, I mean, that nature has its revenge. The important note is that bravery is not reckless defiance. It is recognizing the moment when survival requires respect for forces greater than ourselves. Having respect for things greater than ourselves. That's kind of hard, for a lot of us. This one, you could have easily walked away. Then we're in situations where, and I'm thinking of Lone Survivor. Have you seen that? Where they are dropped to go look at that village or whatever, but then those goat herdsmen are up there.
Yeah,
and then they release them and they know, we can't just kill civilians, but if we release them, we're dead in that conflict. That's very different from this story, but that's another hard choice. You just have to honestly stick with your decision, but when it's something that is clearly vulnerable, is not harming you, you can step away because we as humans destroy so much. I have destroyed a lot. I told you about that. Like when I was scared when I was younger of those snakes and I killed that one for no reason. Like it wasn't even coming at me. I went out of my way to do it. And how I was embarrassed. So I hid it under a rock because I knew I killed something that wasn't going to hurt me and was vulnerable, but because I was afraid or I was eager, that's what this story felt like. And I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's so ugh. Because we do that. I've done that. And it does not feel good.
No.
But some questions that I had for you, one in particular, Which of these four monsters do you think was in like your head, was the true epitome of a monster based on our theme of fear embodied?
Fear embodied, which one would be? So what are the four that we have?
So we had the Minotaur, Tiamat, dragons, and Roc,
I'm thinking probably the second one.
the grieving
Yeah,
woman.
like more than anything, like that's
Why do you say that?
anything that's grieving like that. And it was like total chaos, you know? So to me, it was just,
I love that you said that because of all of them, that was the only one that physically doesn't fit our Hollywood version of monsters. That one is also the most real, I think, and may think there's no giant like sea god standing up and causing storms. I'm terrified when I see those hurricanes and typhoons and stuff circling up on the weather. That's a monster and that's real. And it has teeth and it has brute force and it's crushing and
chews up
it is
whatever it
100%. So
wants.
I love that you said that because I wouldn't have thought that. That was not where my head was. And in my head, I was like, it's easy.
Yeah.
And it was a Minotaur for me. Easily fear embodied.
Oh, yeah, because you get thrown in there and you heard the stories about it and stuff.
Well, and just the rage, the wronged rage
Yeah.
is what I was scared of, was just being in the presence of someone that I get it. I get that this is about to be terrible because what I don't even know, I would just kill myself, honestly, if I was in there. If I was thrown in there, it's done. And that's why I was scared because I felt like physically just that towering force of like that angry man note too. That's also what went through my head. So I'm glad that I asked you that because it made me step back and go, okay, that could happen. But that fear of the water and nature, that's something I've realized before because it is real.
Yeah.
And so thank you for that because it kind of snapped me out of that paranoid things that will never happen versus people are facing these monsters and, oh, we'll move out of this their home. No,
Right.
we just have to help and stuff. And the other thing that I was thinking of is why do we associate storms and like the water so much with monsters? What is it about the water that from the oceans, like the deepest part of the oceans to rivers, the overpowering rivers to the lakes, why are us and our monsters in the sea and the water so united, do you think?
Because there's so much area we can't see, we can't explore unless we, get in like a submarine or something. And even still, we can only see so much. We still can't go down to the depths. And it's that unknown. So it's so easy to be like, yeah, there's definitely a monster down there for sure.
Okay, so now with that in mind, then why is fire the element of destruction?
Because it burns stuff down. I don't know.
How many people have died from fire versus water as the element? And I just am thinking this because of the way you were talking. I didn't have this question in mind. But water is heavily connected as the element of healing. Fire, they all have good and bad properties. I'm talking about the major ones. So healing, and then you have fire, which is destruction.
But
Yet the force of water makes real monsters for us today.
yeah.
And fire, yeah, there are monsters, but it doesn't even compare to water's destruction.
Water is the true yin yang, though, and water is alive. Water is truly
Well, it
alive.
remembers. Well, same as fire is alive, earth and air. And we see that in these stories.
Yeah, during my class, it was funny. Actually, I thought about it because in one of the past lives, the lady was talking about the fire, and it totally made me think of our
Oh,
stories of when they talked about having to keep the fire going, like in those old
the
communities.
hearths. Yeah.
And that's where they cooked and stuff, and it's like, no, that's what we have to do. It's just keep that fire going and that breath of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's
You are going to be so good at this because you're going to have these stories. And, you're jumping into this new thing with that.
Yeah.
How huge is it that you are going to start connecting these cultures and these practices and go, okay, I can either find a region or a time frame,
Mm.
or I can find a location. Because yeah, some places didn't have their fire going except whatever. Other places it did not matter. They were going 100% of the time, year round.
Yep.
And the consequence of it going out was far worse.
Mm.
The burden you had around you was far worse. But you're going to have this whole different dynamic to bring to the table, a wider view of things in terms of these stories where people, they may not know anything about this stuff, anything about folklore mythology, and tell a story. And you're like, wait, okay. Are you just repeating, this at the end, let's look at the video. Maybe a cool discussion, right? And no, that was real to them. They
Mm.
had no idea. And you may find it super simple to go, wow, I think I know where you're at. Tell me more.
Mm.
What are you smelling? But now you can recognize patterns. So you may go, okay, I think she might be here. Oh, but she said this, so she must be in one of these places.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just exciting that you're already seeing that. And like how you heard the her thing and you're like, okay, I recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
Heard that before already. Because you are an individual that I've noticed that even when you're not paying attention, if you've heard it, you heard it. The second time you hear it, you're going to be able to
Mm-hmm.
recall it way better. So you're like, okay, I've heard that mentioned to me before, so now tell me more.
Right.
And so it's cool that you brought that up. Thank you for doing that. The question that we're going to think about, we're not going to answer this one. We're just going to think about is what hunts me inwardly? So what hunts me inwardly? If we aren't sure how to answer that, a simple redirection, what monster is hunting me? Within me, what's my own self monster
Right.
that's attacking itself?
Yeah, it could be like that self-doubt for one little thing, like not like a general, but like maybe it's something little, like what is stopping me from doing something more with my life or my day?
Is
Uh,
it, and we can look at it like the Minotaur. Is it rage? The next one, Tiamat. Is it grief? Then we go into the dragon. Is it misunderstanding? And then our very final one, is it injustice? Great injustice unto you. That's what these ask us. What is our monster
mm,
tearing us apart? Because it may be a monster that's driving us to fight or live or to really go and be our best self, but it is also rotting us
yeah.
because it's for the wrong reason, or it's with the wrong emotion, or that's not your story anymore. That's one of the most powerful things I've ever been told to help me heal. It wasn't, oh, I understand how you feel, or that was terrible. It was, it's not you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the most empowering things because it wasn't just, you don't have to live that anymore.
Yeah.
That's old you, but it was also almost like, to the people that did it, they didn't do it to you because you are different. You made it through. And that makes me feel good too. And sometimes we have to tell our monsters that they're no longer our monsters anymore.
Used to could
Yeah.
more.
Should have tried harder.
Yeah.
But our final two things for today, so our application, and then we'll leave out a little thought and let you guys go, is today we are going to draw a symbol. Like you talked about, symbols, usually
Mm-hmm.
important. Today, we're going to draw a symbol that represents a fear we recognize. We are going to look at our fear that we recognize and draw a symbol that represents it. It's all it can be. However you interpret that, be the symbol describing the fear itself, could be how you get over it, could be what you think of that has no relation to it. What is the fear? And draw a symbol to symbolize it.
Mm.
Or, yeah, well, obviously, draw a symbol to represent it. And then our final thing is that bravery begins when fear is given form. That's
Mm.
why water is so terrifying, because it can be any form.
Go
So
around
now
anything.
we're going to give it a form, and we're going to recognize that that's when our bravery begins.
Yeah.
Because now I've defined you. And by defining you means I can now analyze and figure out if I'm escaping, conquering, whatever it may be,
Mm.
healing. But that's all that we have for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed those monsters. If there were some monsters that you were like, I really wanted to see them, we have a lot coming up throughout the year, but of course we're going to miss some. So if you
Yeah.
have some favorite monsters, please comment below subscribe and like, and I will do some side videos too, where it is some of those.
Yeah.
But as for now, that's all we have for you for March 10th, The Monster.
Thanks, guys. Love you. See you tomorrow.